And I guess Mike was too busy for him or something. He never did get close to Mike. No, Mike came along later. But he loved his grandsons.
I think you mentioned to me before that George and Lois were there.
Oh no, George and Lois was always there. I mean, they were a big part of you, both of you boys.
I mean, in Gunnison. Gunnison.
I think when I went to Gunnison, they kept Richard, because I don't remember having him at all. And they must have stayed with Lois, and I think they lived in cement at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They had the house in Enid, they owned it, and then George got this big job with Arkla in cement. And that's when Richard was a baby. And they took Richard to cement with them. But they had the house in Enid, 722. I think they hadn't been there very long. When George got the big job came up and he wanted Lois to go with him. He didn't want to go down there and live by himself to cement. So they had their house, but yet they went to cement and rented a place. And I guess that was before you was born. But they did take Richard there when he was a baby. And that could have been about the time that Dad got sick in Gunnison. I know they were in and out of cement quite a bit. And they lived in that, had just bought that house it was just a tiny house. I mean, it had that one little old bedroom and that back porch.
You're talking about the house on East Cedar?
And the kitchen and dining room. The kitchen and the living room. They didn't have the living room. Kitchen and bedroom. And the back porch was the bedroom. Was the George's sleeping place. She put a bed out there for him. And they built on that living room. George built that on first. And then he built a bigger, right off of the kitchen, he built on that little room there and put a bed in there. I mean, that was just a tiny, tiny house when they bought it. There was no when Lois would have dinner over there, we'd cook dinner in the kitchen and serve it and put it out on the kitchen counter, and people would fill their plates and go out on the porch and eat, because there wasn't a dining room. There wasn't, because George built that big dining room on, the big living room on to the bedroom. There was just a tiny living room there that wouldn't even hardly hold the divan. And she just had a little table in the end of the kitchen. And then George built that big room on. Gosh, that was a long time ago.
Well, let's bring the narrative back to you. I want to hear more about you.
Oh, okay.
Any anecdotes you want to let us know about?
Well, we had a trip to Las Vegas one time with Bonnie and Jimmy. And we had just gotten that